Hey guys,
welcome back.
All right guys, welcome back. We have a special episode of Fix or Pass where our producer and jack of all trades, Joe, is sitting in next to me. This is episode 20. We're going to be talking about swaps, mainly LS swaps and Coyote swaps because those are the most popular. We'll talk briefly about modern Hemi swaps as well because we have something special coming up with that. And as always, make sure if you hit the subscribe button, you get automatically entered to win the Ram Charger giveaway we're doing right now.
So all you got to do to get entered to win this truck right here is hit that subscribe button, that notification bell below. And when we get to 100,000 subscribers, we are going to pick one of you guys to take this truck home. Hit that subscribe button. Don't be left out when we hit 100,000 and we give this truck away to a lucky subscriber.
So make sure you don't miss out on that opportunity. And without further ado, let's get it cracking.
All right, guys. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to look at a couple projects on the internet right now and determine if this is a good swap project. And then we're actually going to talk about our own projects that we're working on and decide if we'd swap an LS or Coyote into those. So let's look at the first car. Esparza, do the honors.
Okay, so we have a 69 Camaro RSS clone running LS engine. This is in Victorville. Asking $25,500. Let's get through this ad. It's a little verbose, but that's not a bad thing when you're talking project cars. So this says SS clone, question mark. So I think he started a clone. There's some stuff there. There's no SS badges I can see right off the bat. 5.3 liter LS conversion project. So this is a truck motor. There's a lot of variants of LSs. There's a lot of cool videos that show you all the differences in the LS engines. We won't go too far into that. Because there's just so much information already available, but this has a truck engine. All major work on conversion has been done. It's been sitting a long time, 99% rust-free, new floor, bill of sale and DMV paperwork in my name. It failed brake and light inspection. Title will be issued when it passes brake and light inspection. So right off the bat, you probably have some wiring, some fixing to do, even to get it registered. It does have CHP inspection signed off. Body has some flaws. Hood and fenders will need alignment. Between rear window and trunk, it has flaws and will need weather stripping. Engine starts up, but needs some work. Interior is all there. Body is wrapped, sprayed in blue. What does that mean? Is it wrapped or is it sprayed? Engine starts right up, needs some work. Okay. Tires and brakes, okay. Price is $25 firm. Cash only sale. No trades, no games, no scams. I've heard them all. I do not need help selling. Here is your opportunity to own a rare classic that will only go up in value. Call or text Nick. Thanks for looking and God bless us all. Okay, so
let's look at some pictures.
Yeah, let's get some bigger view here. Okay, so it looks pretty complete. I can't tell if this is like maybe a rattle can job, like it's plasti dipped or something. Hard to say. There's some alignment issues with everything. All this is going to need tuning up. You can see all these like opening and closing headlight doors are a little bit off. These mirrors are from another car.
Like a modern car almost.
Yeah, they look like a modern car mirror, but it's pretty complete. I mean, a 69 Camaros, even in rough condition, it's just a good looking car. You can see it has like the SS hood with the vents on it. Not a lot of close-up pictures, and the lighting's not the best, so it's kind of hard to tell. Here's the swap. So here's kind of what's more relevant to the episode here. It's a truck engine, still has a truck intake manifold, still has the truck accessory drive on it, and then probably most of the stock truck harness. So this is your very like entry-level LS swap where this thing probably came out of a junkyard and they used a lot of the existing stuff out of the truck. So they're not very pretty when you look at them like that. Everything's exposed, all the wiring stuff. This is straight from a GM truck. They were never meant to look pretty under the hood. Interior's all there, but it looks all original. So depending on how nice you want it, you're gonna go through all of that stuff. He's got a Plymouth Prowler and like a Ford Mach 1. This guy, he's got all the brands covered. Nice checkerboard driveway. He's just showing off at this point. I mean, he's just flexing. Got American racing wheels, the trims there. Okay, so 10 pictures. This is really not bad. $25,000 for an SS Camaro, and it's already swapped. It depends on what you want. I bet you this car, if you could get the couple little things it needs, it'd be a reliable, nice driving vehicle. I mean, just as reliable as any early 2000s Chevy that engine came in. Oh, yeah. What are your initial thoughts, Joe, when you see this? Like, how does this rub you?
I mean, I love Camaros, so But my problem that I have with the car is that it's an iron block truck motor that they put in it. So they cut a couple corners budget-wise to fit something affordable into the car. So I feel like for $25,500, I don't know. Would you guys fix or pass on this? Technically it is an LS swap.
It's already swapped and it's running.
Yeah.
I would pass on it because I think you could replicate this for maybe a little cheaper. There's value there. You know, if you don't want to go through all the technical aspects of swapping your engine and you're not going to be opening your hood a lot at car shows and stuff, this will get it done. I mean, on the outside, still a killer looking car. But at the price point, you know, 69 Camaro, I would put so much time into dressing this particular car up that I'd probably just start fresh with something different.
Yeah.
And then the title missing, not a huge deal, but you're going to have to jump through some hoops to get this thing registered.
Yeah. You never know how many miles are on those truck motors either.
Yeah, that's a very good point. Some of these engines, I mean, they've been worked into the ground. They were in a truck, so you don't know how it was treated. Next one. So this one, okay, so this car is not swapped, but we're going to talk about Coyote Swaps. That's the popular Ford swap right now. The reason I picked this car to review is because it's a big, like based on a Galaxy, it's a Ford ranch wagon. And these Coyote engines are so huge. They're dual overhead cam. They're only 5 liters of displacement, but physically they're so large that there's not many classic cars that they even fit in. This is one of them though. This is a big car. Let's talk a little bit about this. Let's read about it. So, rare Ford wagon with original California black plate, 61-year-old project car, does not run, cranks, but haven't got it started yet. Needs brakes, not in a hurry to sell. I will sell for the right price. I'll continue to work on it. Price goes up as I make repairs. You see that a lot. People are, you know, still tinkering on their car, and they want to get some of that cost back out of it. It has some rust and Bondo, but overall great look. Seats need help. Frames are there. Would make an awesome rat rod surf wagon. Fix it the way you like it. Currently working on a duplicate title and selling it now with a bill of sale. So another car that the title is a project in itself. So let's pull up some pictures here. Kind of a cool looking car. I really like these big Galaxies. These ride really nice, even with stock suspension. They're just a big, heavy car. There's going to be some rust on this car. There's some dents. You know, this bumper's been pushing some stuff around here and there. You can tell. Not a pristine car. It's got like kind of a rat rod look. It is a ranch wagon though. This rear window rolls down. That's kind of neat.
Nice.
Let's keep looking. So here's an upside down picture of this. Looks like a Y block. So that's the original engine. We're talking swaps. So this thing, probably just yank it right out of there. But even upside down, you can get a visual idea of how big the engine bay is on this. This is a body on frame construction. So that usually means there's no shock towers. A lot of the early Fords are unibody. They have shock towers. That's where the big problem presents itself with the Coyote swap. We'll get a little bit more into that when we talk about our personal cars and the route we're going. But the reason I picked this is because I think if you're going to Coyote swap a car, the only way to save yourself a ton of fabrication and modification on the actual chassis itself is to start with a car that the engine will fit in, whether it's a big Galaxy like this or even a truck. You know, a lot of the early Ford trucks, they have a big engine bay, you can fit stuff in there. I would actually, you know, at $6,000, this is an even bigger project than the Camaro, I would say, but I would fix on this. It's pretty unique. I would love to see a wagon with a Coyote. I think that would be a killer cruiser. What do you think?
I think I would fix on it too. I mean, I'm a natural Ford guy, and while this is indeed a much bigger project than that Camaro we just showed you guys,
Definitely.
Wagons are in right now, especially for like Riddler Award winners. Like if you wanted to dedicate that much time to building the ultimate wagon resto mod, you could for sure drop a Coyote in here, do this car up right, give it a brand new life, and win some awards with it. So yeah, I'd say fix.
Yeah, you could go full bore with this thing. Or you could just put a nice engine in it and not worry about the paint and body, just cruise it. I mean, there's a lot of things you could do with it. But at $6,000, you don't see these everywhere on the road. So it has the unique factor to it. That's kind of cool. So yeah, I would say fix on this. So with that being said, those are just 2 projects that we reviewed because we're gonna do something a little different, and playing on the theme of engine swaps, we're gonna talk about some of our own personal decisions with our own classic cars. LS versus Coyote stuff. There's a couple points I think you want to hit, Joe. What are we thinking about here?
Yeah, so when it comes to LS versus Coyote swaps, no matter what kind of project you have, there's some things to consider. The first one is the package. So when I say package, I mean the size of the engine itself. And how is that going to fit into your project car's engine bay? Are you going to have to make a lot of modifications and fabrications to get it to fit, or will it just drop right in? The second thing is price. How much is that engine going to cost just to buy it? And also to maybe fix it up if you have to, spend a little bit of time, tuning it, that kind of stuff. And then also aftermarket support. That's the third thing. There's a big difference in aftermarket support between LS and Coyote swaps, which we'll get into in a sec. And then lastly, performance. That's the big thing, right? Which engine is going to get you the best performance that you want. Kind of to talk about this way, horsepower per dollar.
Sure.
Right? How much horsepower you're going to get out of the money you're spending on this swap. So without further ado, we're going to start talking about our own project cars. So Esparza has a ton of project cars. I have one.
Yeah. So I figured I'd just bring up the two that are kind of prevalent right now. I have a 69 Chevelle project that I'm working on, which is actually, I decided not to LS swap that car because there was a really stout small block that became available just through our building cars. We LS swapped a 69 Chevelle that we're building, which there's a few episodes on that. Make sure you can check those out. But the small block that came out of that car was available, bolted right in, had everything I needed for, my Chevelle had no engine, no trans. So that was kind of the easy way out, basically. If I had it my way, I'd probably LS swap it. There's so many options in the LS world. And for a Chevelle, that engine drops right in. You can hit up any number of aftermarket companies and they'll sell you the full kit, headers that fit, brackets, everything to bolt it right in. But I'm keeping a small block. It's close to 500 horsepower, so it should be plenty for me. It'll be reliable. But with that being said, if I could pick and choose and money wasn't an object, yeah, you'd probably see something like a big displacement LS engine. Second car that I'm working on is a 68 Mustang, which those cars are actually really killer with a Coyote swap. I've actually built a few of them. But it's a big project to physically get that engine in that engine compartment. That's kind of what you touched on, is the packaging. Mm-hmm. That engine, you have to cut out the shock towers. Sometimes you have to do firewall modifications. You have to put a different type of front suspension on it from some aftermarket company just to physically fit the engine in the car. Small car, big engine. They look really killer when it's all done. But my personal car had really, really nice shock towers. It wasn't rusty. It was real complete, original California car. And I just couldn't bring myself to cutting those shock towers out. So I did get a deal on a 428 Cobra Jet, which will drop right in there, tightly at that, but it'll go in there. So I'm actually not swapping either one of my cars. I would love to, but we do so many swaps here, and I love the way all these cars drive and stuff, but I got a vintage vibe to some of my cars, so that's kind of what I'm sticking with. The Mustangs are real popular. Most of the Coyote swaps you see out there are in a classic Mustang. Just recognize the amount of work it gets to get that engine in there, and if that's something you want to do or tackle, or it's within your budget, perfect. If you're looking to Coyote swap a classic Ford the easy way, if there is an easy way, really, there's always a lot of work, but a bigger car to start with will keep you from, a lot of metal work and cutting up, what might be a nice original car. That's kind of what I'm working on. Joe's project's a little bit unique because you could go either way with that truck. You got some Chevy parts, some Ford parts. So talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, so I have a 1957 Ford F100. It's a short box pickup. It's a really cool little truck. Bought it for like $6,000 up in Escondido, and just been tinkering on it, fixing little things. But my goal is to drop a newer engine in there. The whole front clip is from a 1979 Camaro. So all of that's been grafted onto the F100's frame. and it even has the whole drivetrain in there. So it's a 350 Chevy with the 350 automatic 3-speed transmission. So that's all already in the truck. So if we're just talking about, you know, what would be the quickest thing to do and the cheapest thing to do, probably go LS swap, because it's Chevy on Chevy. That stuff's going to bolt right in. There is going to be a lot of modification work with, you know, running new fuel lines, new gas tank, new fuel pump, stuff like that. But for my project, even though yes, it is a Ford and a Coyote swap would be cool, I would lean more towards the LS route, especially because if we're talking about price, even if my truck did have a lot more Ford parts on it, it's going to cost more money to source that Coyote engine and put it in the car. Also, if either of those engines needed work, Coyote engines are a little bit more complex than just a pushrod LS V8. So you know, even if my truck had more Ford parts, I'd probably still go the LS route. You know, in terms of packaging, that's not something I have to worry about too much because it's a pretty big engine bay because it's a truck. But like in your case with your Mustang, you know, you're going with a engine that fits.
Right.
You know?
And to that point, an LS engine would probably drop right in between the shock towers, but I just don't have the heart to upset everybody. I mean, I'm not super against it, but you know, sometimes people build a car and you know, I've heard people say like, oh, just to piss people off. I'm not into building a car just to piss people off. I want to build a car to make myself happy.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't go with an LS. Honorable mention, there's the 7.3 liter Godzilla engine that Ford just came out with. It's actually very small. Its displacement is much larger, but it's a single cam in the block with push rods. It looks very similar to an LS. Dimension-wise, I think it's a little taller, but that's probably a good candidate that in the future you're going to see a lot more aftermarket support coming on board, and you're probably going to see a lot more of those swaps, just strictly from the packaging, just from the packaging size of things. And then like a couple points you touched on, the Coyote aftermarket support, it's there, but there's really only like a couple companies making an aftermarket controller for it. I think Holley, Ford Performance is where that used to be your only source for an aftermarket standalone computer management system for the fuel injection. They're a little more complex. They have variable valve timing, dual overhead cams. With both of these fuel injected engines, you're gonna upgrade your fuel system, like you said. So keep that in mind. The stuff that goes into surround support parts, I guess you would say, for a swap, don't count those out of your budget. You know, you're gonna have to redo your cooling system, exhaust is gonna change, your fuel system. So all that stuff that goes around it, that can nickel and dime you to death. So keep that in mind. Availability of the Coyote engines, you know, you're starting to see them come up available in junkyards. There's different versions. There's an F-150 version that came with a different intake and exhaust manifold and a few little differences in the timing chain cover for the accessory drive. These are basically modular engines. So the timing chain cover, like kind of all the accessories bolt to that. So that can get a little complicated too, matching all those parts, whether you have an F-150 engine or a Coyote engine. I don't see a ton of junkyard swapped Coyotes, although you could do it. Most people are getting these crate engines straight from Ford or another company. You know, there's some companies that are doing like upgraded versions that you could swap in. LS engines are just everywhere. They made millions of them. It's like the new small block. You know, they came in everything from trucks to sports cars in all different displacements. So there's more of them available. So the prices are a little lower. Coyotes, I think a new crate engine Coyote starts around $6,000. So keep that in mind. We talked about aftermarket support, pricing, availability, performance. Sky's the limit with an LS engine. That can be said with a Coyote engine as well. But there's less builders that have, you know, that magic formula to make reliable power. It almost always requires a ton of boost. Whereas, like, I see a lot of naturally aspirated LS engines that are making pretty big power, big displacement. So something to keep in mind. What's your performance goal? I think Coyotes are like 450-ish right out of the crate, like a Mustang version, which is stout. I mean, the way they deliver power with the variable valve timing, it feels like more horsepower than it actually is. Because of that, that's usually enough to have a lot of fun in a car, to be honest with you. You know, anything more than that, depending on the car you have, might not even be usable power. So something to keep in mind. LS engines are everywhere. You know all the benefits. You've seen all the guys putting junkyard ones in, boosting them to the moon, making 1,000 horsepower on a junkyard engine. So that's kind of why, I think they kind of take the lead in popularity because of all those reasons. And then briefly, we'll talk about the Gen 3 Hemi. We actually have an upcoming sweepstakes car. It's a really, really beautiful 71 Challenger with a Gen 3 Hemi. So honorable mention to those swaps. They're getting more popular. I'm starting to see there's just a lot more of them available in the junkyards and stuff. And there's a few companies like getting on board with the aftermarket support. So those are out there as well. We didn't really review any cars because those, they don't have as big of a physical problem. They're still a bigger engine, but a lot of Mopar products had a bigger engine bay, so they kind of drop right in. The one in our Challenger went in there without cutting anything up. So it basically sat in there. We're running the computer that came with the car, so we're getting a super reliable swap. And you'll see a lot more of that car. That'll be our 19th giveaway car.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, so we've given away 18 previous cars. We're doing a 68 Camaro right now. We'll drop a link below to see all the previous winners, all the cool cars that we've given away. And you can get entered to win one of those as well. So you know the deal on that. It's a giveaway company, so got to plug the current car and the upcoming car.
Well, that's pretty much it on LS swaps versus Coyote swaps. We took a look at a Camaro project that already had a swap in it, but passed on that one. Said fix on this Ford Ranch wagon, so go pick this thing up. Build yourself a wagon project, maybe drop a Coyote in it or drop an LS, whichever you choose. And we also talked about some of our own projects we're working on. But yeah, let us know in the comments, you guys. Would you LS swap or would you Coyote swap?
Yeah.
Which are you a bigger fan of, even just based on some of these principles that we listed? So hit us up in the comments. Don't forget, like and subscribe so that you never miss an episode of Fix or Pass or anything else that we got on our YouTube channel. And why don't you give us the old outro, Esparza?
All right, as always, keep having fun with cars.
That was cute.
Go ahead, Esparza, do the intro.
It's all about the chemistry, baby. Killer chemistry, dude.